To me, they were magicians. They drove cars through busy streets, knew when to give me medicine, and solved problems I couldn't even name yet. It felt like they knew things I could never reach, like something I would never be able to do myself. At that age, it never even crossed my mind that one day I would have to step into that role myself. Being an adult felt impossible, and yet, one day I woke up, looked into the mirror, and realized I was one of them. There wasn't a single dramatic moment where childhood ended and adulthood began. It blurred quietly, like watercolors seeping into one another on paper. Childhood slowly faded out of sight, and suddenly, I was a grown-up. Today, I want to share with you a collection of stories, and along the way, you might find yourself recognizing pieces of your own life in them. We'll explore the masks we wear, the doubts that follow us, and even the funny, almost liberating realization that I too am an imposter. But here is the twist. Being an imposter might not be such a bad thing. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might just see yourself and the idea of pretending in a whole new way. Back in 1952, in the chaos of the Korean War, a Canadian destroyer ship was carrying 16 badly wounded soldiers. When they needed a surgeon, Dr. Joseph Sear stepped forward. He gave orders, picked up a scalpel, and performed surgery after surgery, hour after hour. 16 lives, each decision crucial, every second a matter of survival. Against all odds, all 16 soldiers lived. But there was a twist. He wasn't a surgeon. He wasn't even a doctor. His name was Ferdinand Demara, and history remembers him as the great imposter. He had no degree, no training, nothing but a borrowed textbook, a stolen identity, and the ability to act the part so well that the world believed it. When the truth finally surfaced, because the mother of the real Dr. Joseph Sear saw a newspaper photo and realized that man wasn't her son, Demara's cover was blown. But instead of being erased, his history became legendary. He became a household name, written about in books, even portrayed in a film. Demara didn't stop at just one trick. He went through life like it was a dress-up shop, slipping into different roles: surgeon, teacher, engineer, even a monk. He wore each role with total confidence, and the lies were told so boldly that people simply believed him. Now here's the question. Would the world have cared if it had been the actual Dr. Joseph Sear who saved those soldiers? Probably not. Successful surgeries by a trained surgeon don't make headlines. What fascinated people wasn't the surgeries themselves, but the impossible twist that the man saving lives had no right to be there at all. And that's the part that grips us. Not just the deception itself, but the daring artistry of it. He painted himself into lives he had no claim to, and for a time, the world applauded. We have this strange attraction to imposters. Their stories fascinate us because they challenge the rules we've been trained to follow since childhood. No dessert before dinner, no TV before homework. You gotta work hard, you gotta go to school, then to university, get a proper job. Life in neat, stacked boxes, one after the other, until the weight feels suffocating. Happiness must be earned. Dreams must be deserved. And only after you have checked the right boxes, you allow to enjoy them. And then someone like Demara comes along and breaks the pattern. He skips the line, cuts the corner, and takes what the rest of us were told we had to earn. And our reaction is mixed. Part shocked, part envy, and maybe even a quiet sense of delight. Because if he could do it, maybe we could too. Think about it. When a colleague suddenly quits their steady job and reinvents their life, maybe moves abroad, starts painting, or opens a bakery and somehow thrives, it surprises us. We sit there still in the same chair wondering if we could ever throw away one mask and choose another. Our brain protects us with excuses. Thousands of reasons not to risk, not to change, not to try. And yet, watching someone break free stirs something inside us, like seeing a blank canvas filled with bold, reckless strokes. It shocks us, but it also awakens us to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we could paint outside the lines too. We sympathize with those who mirror us in some way, but what could we possibly have in common with Demara? More than we would like to admit. The fact that you are not really the person everyone thinks you are. That one day the mask will slip, the cracks will show, and the world will see the truth. Your success was a fluke, your achievements hollow, your place undeserved. And maybe that's why imposters fascinate us so much. They show us what it looks like to step outside the role we've been handed, to wear a costume that doesn't quite belong to us and get away with it. When I started this channel 4 years ago, I never imagined I would be doing it professionally. In fact, the idea of me being a professional artist seemed almost laughable. Out of all the people in the world, me? I built a website with some of my art and some starter packs, all to download for free. And even now, I still find it surreal that people actually download them. My work, chosen out of the endless ocean of art on the internet. Of course, I believe in what I make, otherwise I wouldn't share it. But every time someone downloads a piece, a part of me feels like I've tricked them somehow. And when the first donations came through on that website, it hit even harder. Each one felt less like a reward and more like a test. Do I really deserve this? Here I am, playing the part of the artist I want to be, and people are convinced enough to support me. Some days I wonder if I have simply managed to fool everyone. And yet, maybe that's the point, because deep down I know this isn't just pretending. Little by little I've grown into the person I always wanted to be. It's strange to see that reflected back through other people's recognition, but it's also something I'm deeply grateful for. So to everyone watching, liking, downloading, or supporting me in any way, thank you, truly. And if you have ever felt the same tug of doubt, you are not alone. That uneasy sense of, have I fooled them, has a name. Imposter syndrome, and it is far more common than most people realize. Studies suggest that nearly 70% of us will feel it at some point in our lives, which means that if you are nodding along right now, you're in a very good company. I want to share a few quotes with you. They came from people you will definitely know, but for now, I won't tell you who said them. Just listen and see if you have ever felt the same. And at the end of this video, we will uncover who they belong to. And if you want, you can write them in the comments who you think they are. Let's see if you manage to guess it. I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they're going to find out. I've run a game on everybody and they are going to find me out. This came from a poet whose words are studied in classrooms and whose books have inspired millions. I feel like an imposter, any moment someone's going to find out I'm a total fraud and that I don't deserve any of what I've achieved. These words came from a performer the world has watched grow up on screen, someone often seen as a role model for an entire generation. You think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this? This was said by one of the most respected actresses alive today, a person with more awards and recognition than almost anyone in the industry. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. And these words were spoken by a great mind, one of the most brilliant thinkers of modern history, shortly before his death. Even at the very top, perhaps especially at the top, imposter syndrome sharpens. Every success feels like a mistake, and every bit of recognition like a trick. And instead of joy, achievement brings anxiety. And it doesn't stop with careers either. Imposter syndrome sneaks quietly into relationships. Sometimes I'll wake up next to my husband, the person I adore, and a thought slips in. Why is he even with me? He could have chosen anyone else. The thought usually fades the second he starts snoring, but it's there. A silly dream where he picks someone else, and suddenly the seed of doubt feels real. And its root, imposter syndrome, is the belief that you don't deserve your own happiness. And the crucial twist is that belief creates the very mistake that seemed to prove it true. You procrastinate, you overwork, you compare yourself endlessly, and in doing so, you fuel the cycle. Procrastination and perfectionism often walk hand in hand with imposter syndrome. They're like two ends of the same scale. They are strategies to cope with the fear of making mistakes. Procrastination is something I know all too well, more often than I would like to admit. I find myself avoiding the very work I should be doing. I sit down with every intention of editing a video, creating new art, updating my website, or researching my next idea. But instead, I stall. I make another coffee, I scroll endlessly through social media, and suddenly the window of time I had to create starts to disappear. Anxiety builds, deadlines creep closer, and in the end, I rush to finish. When upload time comes, I know I could have done better, and yet people still love it. Encouraging words and beautiful comments pour in, and reading them moves me deeply. And at the same time, the doubt whispers, do I deserve this? I think I didn't spend enough time. I didn't give enough care. I call myself an artist. Surely my audience deserves more. And still, as I sit with those thoughts, more messages arrive, more people telling me how much they enjoyed it. That's when I feel like I've fooled everyone, as though their kindness is built on an illusion I created. And if procrastination wasn't enough, I'm also a perfectionist. I can't just let things be. I feel the need to comb through every second of footage to find the absolute best. But of course, it never feels good enough. Every frame gets picked apart, the angle isn't quite right, the lighting could be better, the sound needs to be adjusted just half a decibel. And in the process, I lose what matters most. Consistency. I tell myself the video isn't ready, so I skip a week. 1 week turns into 2, and suddenly all those years of hard work feel like they're slipping. That's why now I have a rule. Every Thursday, no matter what, a new video goes up. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. I keep it simpler, I lean on my husband for help, and yes, sometimes the dishes stay in the sink a little longer. Because the truth is, perfection isn't what makes the work better. Showing up again and again is what does. But here's the question we rarely ask. Why do we feel imposters in the first place? What happened and when that made us start believing we don't deserve to simply be without overproving ourselves every step of the way? One way to understand imposter syndrome is to look back at childhood, of course. It often grows out of two very different kinds of upbringing. On one side are children who get scolded for everything. A spilled drop of juice or a forgotten line in the school play is met with sharp words, with constant criticism. Even the smallest mistake feels like a disaster. On the other side are children praised for absolutely everything. Putting shoes on the right feet is treated as brilliant. A potato-shaped doodle is celebrated as genius, and brushing teeth earns an award. In that world, every little action is exaggerated into achievement. And in both cases, the same uneasy lesson takes root. I don't really deserve this, either because nothing ever seemed good enough or because the praise felt so over the top, it couldn't be real. That quiet doubt doesn't vanish. It grows up with us, and years later it surfaces as imposter syndrome. This is where Dunning-Kruger effect shows up. People who don't know much often think they know a lot. But for people with real knowledge, it flips the other way. The more they learn, the more they downplay it. They start believing everyone else must be smarter, better prepared, more deserving. And that's where imposter syndrome grows strongest. The higher your skills, the more you doubt them. I feel this myself all the time. There is always more to learn, always more I don't know, and that makes me wonder if I will ever be good enough. Maybe I'll never reach perfection, but I can keep striving to become the best version of myself. That's the paradox of learning. The more you understand, the more you see how much you still don't know. And it doesn't help that I notice all of my own mistakes. The slip-ups, the drafts, the things no one else ever sees. Then I look at other artists or video creators, and all I see is the polished end result, the highlight reel. Comparing my messy behind the scenes to their finished work makes it hard not to feel like a fraud. What we forget is that even the people who look the most confident and successful have their own hidden doubts. There is even a term for this gap in perspective: pluralistic ignorance. It simply means we don't really know what others are going through. So we fill in the blanks, and usually we assume they have it all figured out. But there is the truth. Remember that 70% of people say they have felt imposter syndrome? The real number is likely to be higher, because who wants to admit that I am not as good as you think I am? And once you realize that, it changes everything. Behind almost every mask of confidence, the same quiet fear is hiding. We don't wear just one mask. We wear many. With friends, we slip into the role of the cheerful one, laughing and joking. And around someone we like, we suddenly become cautious, rehearsing every word as if we were auditioning for a part. With parents, no matter our age, we fall back into the child version of ourselves, eager to prove we are doing fine. And even here, right now, I'm wearing a mask, the mask of the presenter. I shape my words and try to sound like I know exactly what I'm talking about while making this video. These roles slide on and off without us even noticing. After a while, it doesn't feel like we're choosing the roles anymore. It feels like the roles are choosing us. And here is a good reminder: nobody actually cares as much as you think. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect. They believe that everyone is paying close attention to us, when in reality they aren't. But because we feel like the spotlight is always on, we keep the masks up all the time. But in reality, everyone else is too busy worrying about their own performance, their own flaws, and their own secret fears. And there is something freeing in that, because imposter syndrome is fueled by isolation. It makes you feel like you are the only one faking it. But the moment you open up and share it with a colleague, a friend, a partner, you will see their relief. They feel it too. And if we are all pretending anyway, then why not pretend bigger? Convince yourself and others that you are stronger, braver, more talented than you think. That you are not shy, that speaking on stage is your second nature, that singing or painting is your birthright. And if all of this is nothing more than an endless procession of masks, a childish game called adulthood, then maybe the point is simply to choose the most interesting one, the one you would actually enjoy playing, because that game becomes your life. Remember the quotes from earlier? Those aren't just everyday people. Those are highly skilled professionals in their fields. I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they are going to find out. I've run a game on everybody and they are going to find me out. Was told by Maya Angelou, a person who's written 11 books and is taught about in school to millions of pupils. I feel like an imposter. Any moment someone's going to find out I'm total fraud and that I don't deserve any of what I've achieved. That confession came from Emma Watson, someone we grew up watching on screen, who despite global fame still admits she feels undeserving of her success. You think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway. So why am I doing this? These are the words of Meryl Streep, one of the most awarded and respected actresses alive, yet still doubting her own ability. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. And finally, these words came from Albert Einstein himself, a mind we see as almost untouchable, yet even he carried the fear of being exposed as a fraud. And if people like that can feel like imposters, then it makes sense that I do too. Even now, after years of making videos and sharing my art, I sometimes look at the kind comments, the downloads from my website, even the donations people sent, and I wonder if I have tricked everyone. I think surely they deserve better. Surely someone else could do this more beautifully, more perfectly. And yet, here I am, still showing up, still creating, and people keep telling me it matters to them. That gap between how I see myself and how others see me, that's where my own imposter lives. The strange thing is that feeling of fooling everyone never fully disappears. It still creeps in, but it fades. Because with every video, every drawing, every word I share, I get to step into this role a little more. I get to pretend to be this new version of me, and the more I do it, the more real it starts to feel. And for that, I owe a huge thank you to you, everyone listening, watching, downloading, supporting. Without you, I would still only think of myself as an artist in private. You are the reason the world gets to see this mask of mine. I'm not ashamed to say I am Anita Winters and I am an imposter.